And then there were six. Ukraine, the host of Eurovision 2017, is looking for their act for Eurovision 2018. They've had some semifinals, and now we have the final six acts standing. Are you guys ready to talk about them? Let's
Let's
do
do
this.
this.
Yes, there is variety in this selection. Solo females, groups, solo males. It's all here, and it's time to decide. Porrig, why don't you kick us off with your number three?
My number three is Vilna and Forest Song.
Hello, hello, hey, my spirit is free.
And I think this is kind of the sort of ethnic balladry done right, because there was a song that everybody was kind of wetting themselves about in Estonia, and it had the similar elements of going hilla 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 hey, and it got eliminated in its semi-final. Vilna has this as well, but it doesn't feel twee and old-fashioned because she's kind of blended it with modern elements. So it's kind of a pop song with a throwback to kind of old, more traditional styles. And then her staging is very eye-catching. She's kind of like part Emily DeForest, part Pocahontas, part hippie person, and then she has the weird yaks on the drums. Like, where else would you get them apart from Ukraine? And it's been a while since Ukraine have had these kind of things, because their staging for the last couple of years, like, we have to go back to 2014 with Maria Yaremchuk before we can think of anything crazy, because the tree was quite tasteful and even the head last year was tasteful. So maybe the yaks could be their thing this year. But aside from all that, I think it is a strong song. But it is definitely my firm third, and my top two are like way ahead.
Well, Chris, I would normally come to you, but Vilna Forest Song is also my number three.
There's freedom in me, there's freedom in me, there's freedom in me.
When she's singing, I feel like she's gonna reincarnate someone. Like in all that smoke, suddenly, I don't know, Martin Luther King is gonna stand up and start talking, George Washington. Like she's conjuring, she's communing with the afterlife, heroes of the past. There's something very magical here. It feels like a Disney movie, and I mean that in the most positive way. Like the Pocahontas thing is actually very apt. There's some kind of indigenous visual elements going on. I'm loving that animals. Maybe they're her spirit animals. I don't know. There's a lot of fringe. There's references to, what's her name? Nadezhda Misyakova, Belarus's junior Eurovision act. You know what I mean? That spirit, that so-called, the eagle. This is just very nice. I feel like she's in touch with today, but she's in touch with the past, but it doesn't feel like a theme park. She's not mocking or patronizing. She's building on, and there's a very fine line to tread. This just works. It could work as a piece of musical theater, it could work as a piece of pop, and it could certainly work at Eurovision in my mind. This would be a daring choice. I want to go to her forest. I don't need Emily DeForest. I got the forest song from Vilna. Well done.
So, my number three, I will say Vilna was probably my number four, and it's very close. Like, I have a clear top two, and then there's like the four below. But my number three is Loud with Waiting.
Waiting is not a fall, sometimes a way out.
It just stood out for me from the first time that I heard it. Like, the other ones I've had to watch a couple times to get. But I just like his voice is good. It's kind of catchy. Like it sort of, it's the one that sticks in my head the most. It has a melody that I can kind of get on board with and remember. And yeah, I just think that it's very cleverly staged. Like I could see this actually doing respectably on a jury and a televote. Like it kind of hits that nice midpoint. It wouldn't like, it would definitely qualify at Eurovision, I think, but I don't think it would get that far. And I think that there's definitely two choices that Ukraine has which would go further. So yeah, it's fine and it's a good. And the entire selection, I've watched both shows and thought the entire selection has been one of the best of the year. But yeah, I think there's a clear top two, so this is my number three.
Well, speaking of top two, we move on to that. Kicking it off with Porrig.
My number two, it could easily be my number one depending on my mood, and I'd be quite happy to see it win, which is unusual because for a lot of these videos lately, I've just had a number one and the rest have been dire. But my number two is Me Lovin' and Under the Ladder.
You can see that whatever the weather, that the wind's all there, always feel, oh.
The reason it's probably my top two is that I've listened to it too much. It came out sooner than my top. It came out before my number one. So maybe I've been exposed to it too much, and I've gotten tired of it. But whenever it does come on, I'm like, oh yeah, I love this. This has to go because it's an upbeat male pop number, and so far this year we've got no upbeat male pop numbers. Like Nicholas Joseph is kind of flying the flag for that genre, but I wouldn't really he's up tempo, but he's not an upbeat danceable number. Whereas this is what Me Lovin' has, and it's kind of at the same time it should satisfy all of these fast food haters because there's more to it than it being upbeat. It's kind of an upbeat ballad in a sense.
Yeah.
But maybe my worry about it, looking back at his Vidbir performances, is that his staging might be a bit alienating. And by staging, I mean more his look, because his staging is quite conventional, but he looks kind of like Johnny Depp, circa when he was playing that mad barber who was killing people and putting them in the pies, or Edward Scissorhands, like crazy era Johnny Depp, because he's his hair all coming out here, and then he has the contacts, and he has the baggy suit jacket. So maybe if you tone that down, because I know it kind of goes against the grain to tell a performer to tone down their image because it's part of who they are. But if we look at Jamie Lee, she was very much this kind of anime character, and she didn't tone it down when she went to Eurovision, and that was to her detriment. Granted, Me Lovin' song is much stronger, and he has a lot more charisma than she does. But yes, it's in my top two. It could easily be my number one. It's tied with being, or is it the most modern? It probably is the most modern in the competition. It's the most universally modern anyway. But the thing is that you wouldn't instantly associate it with Ukraine. It could come from anywhere.
So my number two is Tiana with Layla. And I wasn't a huge fan of her song last year. Like, I liked it, but it was never like one of my, oh my God, this is a robbery kind of situations. And this one, I really like it, and it's a very fun song, and it's a very fun performance, but I have issues with it. So first of all, like, her outfit, like, I nearly saw way too much of what I really wanted to see. Like, she does that kind of kneel down moment. It's not quite a slot drop, but yeah, there was a lot on show. So that was a little bit, ooh, okay, like, you can imagine jurors probably not really appreciating that at Eurovision if it got through. I think my problem is, and it's something that we talked about with Laura Tesoro back in 2016 in her national final performance, where it's sort of like, oh, here's this very attractive white person up front, and then we've shoved the black backing vocalist to the back. And that, here's the thing, with Laura Tesoro, it kind of felt like it was an accident. Like, I don't think they meant it to read like that. But because of the sound of this, and because of the way that it was staged, it did kind of feel like maybe this was more of a choice. And I'm not saying it was, but it kind of felt like, it just felt a bit problematic, I guess, to me. And that was just the very first time I watched it, I was like, ooh, like, it immediately flagged for me. But all of that aside, she sounded very good. You know, her styling wasn't quite there. Like, it made her look a lot older than she is as well. I'm coming up with a lot of problems for this being my number two, but it's a very, very good song, and she sells it. Like, all these little problems aside, she makes it, and she is the star. So I can definitely see this doing well at Eurovision if it were to go there. I just think that they would need to edit a little bit.
So my number two is also Layla. I don't know who Layla is, but she's real pretty and she knows how to move. I think this would be a great show tune. This would be great in like a West End show. The reason I'm putting it as my number 2 behind, well, it's kind of obvious, behind Melvin, is because I feel like this is perhaps not as modern and contemporary as his song. I like this a lot. And it is a tough decision because she's an amazing singer. Like, I Love You last year, that was my number 1 by far. The woman can sing, she can deliver. I have no worries about her on that big stage at Eurovision. She'd own it. But the song, I prefer I Love You, I guess is what I'm trying to say. The styling, her dress is too short. And when you watch it on mute, as I'm doing right now, the dance moves look real strange. It's like doing the hokey pokey or something, like this kind of like weird, I don't know. There's great potential here. Either of the top 2 that go can do great at Eurovision. To me, this, I don't want to say dated because it's not dated, but it just sounds, it's drawing from another era. You know, maybe a little throwback, I don't know if it's the 70s, if it's Motown or what, but it's just not of 2018, and that's not a bad thing because vintage is in. But I just personally prefer something more contemporary. All right, we move on to our number 1, because Porg did his number 2, that's right. Porg.
Well, I'm going to stick with the Tiana team because she is my number 1. And I kind of get your criticism. I think the staging is the main problem because the dress she's wearing is very unflattering. That kind of dirty orange look doesn't look good on anyone. And then the LED screens behind her, they don't add much because if we think back to Vilna, who we spoke about earlier, she had fields and barley and whatever going on behind her. Tiana just has gold squares. I'm looking at it now. And then her dancers behind her are wearing the same horrible dresses. And then they're doing these weird moves. And it's kind of like, do you know when a child wets themselves and they're kind of waddling? And
Oh, no.
it's not like... It's not good. And then she has these weird little moves where she's like a duck doing the little shakes her bum, and it doesn't match the song because the song is a really slick professional song. If I listen to it on audio alone, I really love it. But the staging doesn't match it. And I think that could be maybe affecting people's views of the song because I think it's actually, to my ears anyways, I think it's quite modern. And it's modern in the sense that it's kind of very Eastern European. You wouldn't hear it in Western charts. But like there was a few songs when we do these wish lists during the summer, and there was a song like from Armenia, from the girl who won the X Factor, and it sounds very similar to that, and it's that genre. So I think it could do well across Eastern Europe because they listen to this kind of music, and it's about time that Ukraine embraced its status at Eurovision as being the people who are meant to give us these female-led ethno-pop bangers because we haven't had one since Maria Yaremchuk. And like, it's growing tired now. We need to have it. But saying that, like I said earlier, she's my number 1, but I wouldn't be sad if me lovin' picked her at the post.
So I think it's pretty obvious who my number 1 is as well. It's my lovin' with Under the Ladder. I think it's very aggressive, sort of a lot of what he does. Like, he's kind of got that slightly serial killer meets Adam Ant meets New Romantic kind of thing going on. Like, everything about it is just kind of very whoa, but I like it. It's very in your face, but it's the one. It's actually the only song so far this year that I've heard where I've been like, this could be top 5 at Eurovision. Like, not even Madame Monsieur, I think, could. I think it's not necessarily better, but I could see it performing better. I think he needs to maybe tone it down a little bit at points. Like, it's very difficult to understand what he's saying for a lot of it because he's so animated. Mm-hmm. And because he's moving from one bit to the other, and then he's on his piano, and it's non-stop for 3 minutes, but it really hooks me for that. And it's the that whole bit of the chorus, it won't leave my head every time I hear it. I think it's genuinely a really good contender. I do think, the image might put some people off. I don't understand the contact lens thing other than it's his image choice. I don't know whether there is a reason why he does it, whether there's more of a meaning to it. I'm sure that people can let us know in the comments if there is. But I can see it putting some people off, but for me, it just kind of sells the whole, because it's so aggressive and very red and sort of visceral almost at times. It just gets it all going. I think it's a definite contender, and I do have a clear top two, but for me, this is a clear number one on top of that, I kind of feel like.
You know what? My number one is Melovin, Under the Ladder.
That decision has got to be made.
He's not under the ladder, he is climbing the ladder. This is my clear number one. To quote RuPaul's Drag Race winner Sharon Needles, when in doubt, freak 'em out. And that's what he's doing. I love the look. I say amp it up. Turn up the heat or go down in flames. This is good. It's visually arresting. You see him, you're like, what? But then he's likable because he's so animated. He's like really into it, and so you get into it as well. I mean, I can't remember the melody at this specific moment, but I know that the first time I watched this, I was like, yes. It's like instantly kind of, you want to see more. You want to wait the song out. And then he moves on the piano. It's very effective, actually, when you have someone who's deliberately looking quite other, then doing something very mainstream and sophisticated, playing the piano. I love that. The contrast, the clash, the rocker on the piano. I just think he's got it. He's a performer. We need performers like this at Eurovision. Someone who can just sell. There's no timidity here, nothing. He's just out there. He's outre. He's doing it. He's doing him, and I'm doing it too. Love it. This is my winner. If they send this to Eurovision, I think they have so much potential. I mean, as with Tayana, they are both very strong entries, but I just feel like this will stand out that extra bit because it is so unique. Whereas there are often many beautiful women at Eurovision. That sounds strange because there are beautiful men at Eurovision as well. But you know what I mean. I think he's just more original at the end of the day. And originality, Ukraine, why shouldn't Ukraine showcase its bohemian edge, its creative spirit, its punk rock musicality, whatever this is. I have no idea what this is, and that's a good thing. Do we have anything else to say?
I think just that if Ukraine send Tiana or Milovin at this moment in time, they'll be my number one in the rankings.
Oh, au revoir, mesdames, messieurs.
Bye.
Says Felicia.
No, I do think if Melovin went, I do think it would. I don't know whether it would replace Madame Monsieur for me. It would be very close though. But like I said, I do think I don't see it as a winner, but I do see it doing very well for Ukraine. I'm not quite ready to go back there yet at the moment, but who knows? So.
Yeah, this song is definitely one of their standouts in recent Eurovisions. It's good. It's got potential. And I could see it climbing, to the top or near the top of my rankings. I cannot reveal until we do that video. But it's interesting, the contrast here, Under the Ladder to Canción. You know what I mean? It's like, it's great to have the variety.
Both have pianos, at least.
True. One's making love with the piano, one's setting it on fire. I'm not going to say who's doing what. In any case, that is what we think. What do you think? What are your top three in Ukraine's Vidbir 2018? Do any of these songs have the potential to win Eurovision? Who would do the best at Eurovision? And how do you think the jury televote split's going to go down this year? Let us know here on wiwibloggs.
And we're going to be covering all of the selections because we know you keep asking, so subscribe and you will get a notification whenever you upload if you hit that bell.
And make sure to leave a like, leave a comment, let us know everything down there below.
And we will see you later. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.